Raleigh Transit Authority to order at 3:34 p.m. It is October the 9th. We'll start with introductions, and we're going to start on the left, all the way down here.
My name is Richard Daniels.
Linda Davis.
Latanya Williams.
Jennifer Truman.
Leo Suarez.
Mark Teague.
Thank you, everyone, for being here today. The first thing on the agenda is the approval of our minutes and notes. And I think I just had like a couple of little typo things to add. Does anyone else have anything else in the minutes? Trying to make sure I say the right thing over here. There was a typo. It just needed to say that we were announcing the walk month along with the White Cane Day. And there was a typo, so it wasn't the word walk. It was like a different word. And then also the mention of the comprehensive plan, like the special appointment that came up for members of the board to go to the comprehensive plan. It wasn't on the agenda, and so I think that's why it fell out of the minutes, but I wanted to make sure we put that in there. Is everyone okay if we just approve with those addendums?
I approve.
So moved. Do I have a second?
Second.
It's been moved and properly seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right. Minutes are approved. Do we have revisions or additions to today's agenda? I know it's pretty light. David?
Yeah, staff did prepare a brief presentation on some capital projects coming out of our bus and bus facilities team. So if it would be appropriate, maybe during the staff information section, we could present that if you would like.
Okay, that works. So capital projects in staff information. Running it down so that maybe I won't forget and you won't have to remind me. Okay, we'll come back to public comment if folks arrive at 4. So let's just chat through the RTA board member advocacy opportunities. Mark, would you like to start so you can announce your other committee events as well?
Yes. Let's see. First off, on October the 14th and the 15th, it will be a 2-day celebration sponsored by the Federation of the Blind and the Raleigh Wake Council of the Blind to recognize the 66th anniversary of the White Cane recognition. The white cane is used for visually impaired individuals so they can navigate safely. The event on October the 15th will be at 16 West Jones Street, the Legislature Building. We will meet there. I am very pleased that a lot of transportation and city staff are going to join us. So we invite everybody from the audience to also come. We're going to meet. Hopefully, the governor will be making a proclamation that day. And then we're going to walk 6 blocks to Art Space, where there will be a community meet and greet event. Additionally, October the 20th is the banquet, and I'm pleased that several staff members and fellow council and fellow board members from this committee will be attending this event. It's in recognition from community leaders and organizations to recognize their work with the disabled community. So it's very exciting. And personally, I'm honored to report that I will be invited to the Governor's Mansion tomorrow at 10 a.m. Some of my other fellow advocates will be representing our community at the Disability Employment Awareness, sponsored by Governor Stein. That's about it for now.
Thank you. Leo, did you have an advocacy either that you've attended or upcoming?
I did go to the BRT event over at Chavis Park. I thought that went really well. It was a lot more than I was expecting there. I think it's the engagement around BRT has been going very well. I see some more coming up. I don't have the dates offhand, but I'm sure we'll get that in an update. So we'll circulate that out and continue, giving people the opportunity to keep engaging with BRT. I think that it's been more than accommodating to get different voices and people hearing about the updates. So great job, staff. And if anyone here hasn't gone, you should go.
Yeah, I was also able to attend the open house at Chavis for the New Bern route. I think it was really great to see, and the art for some of the stops is out now. So seeing that engagement has been really great, and having it, at the park is nice because my kids could act silly along with other people's children. But there's a couple of open houses coming up for, I think Northern was this past week, but there's more coming for Southern and Western as we go into the winter. So definitely keep your eye on the emails that the Go Raleigh team sends out. Anyone else have advocacy opportunities this way?
So in September, I attended the Campo meeting, which Taylor highlighted highlighted the 15-minute increase in the routes, just showing how we're improving. They was very pleased about that. They just want to know, definitely continue to send the numbers and our positive results, and they just want to make sure that we are marketing the 15-minute increases on our routes. But yeah, overall, they was very pleased. Oh, and there's another one this month, 2 weeks from now.
Thank you, guys. It's good to have the spot in the agenda, even if it varies what we're able to do from month to month, just to make sure we're on the same track. Are there other announcements?
Just that next TPAC meeting is October 23rd.
Anybody want to take it this month? Don't everyone jump at once. LaTanya will be listening in online. Okay. If you think you may want to join, just let me know. Otherwise, we'll look forward to the virtual feedback. What time is it? They're at 9 o'clock, and they're at Fenton, right, at their office?
Yeah, they're in person at the Fenton in Cary, which is where the Campo offices are. You can, however, listen virtually. You just can't make any public comments or anything like that, but you can certainly just dial in and listen.
And isn't there a plan update out right now that we heard about last month for the Wake Transit Plan? If it's not out now, it'll be out soon. How's that?
The vision plan, is it still open for public comment? I think it may have closed.
Okay, it's
Yeah, I
over
think
now.
it closed
Yeah.
on the 2nd or something like
Okay.
that.
When he came and presented, I believe it was
Not that
last
behind.
month, and we were already into the public comment
It
period.
had already started. Okay, got you. So we'll see them giving us the next phase soon. Okay. Okay, awesome. We'll make sure you get the details. That then would take us to staff items, because we're still not at 4 o'clock.
And if it pleases the board, I'd like to add one more item. Mr. Het Patel would like to come down and give a brief update on our bid number 2 package for the BRT
Yeah.
service.
Absolutely. Which would you guys like to hear first? We'll do BRT first. It looks like he wants to stand up.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and board members. I don't have a presentation, and David's going to walk through those capital project updates, but I did want to share with you all that New Bern Avenue Package 2 award was on the consent agenda for council yesterday, which got approved. And so now we have 2 awarded packages for construction activities for the New Bern Avenue BRT corridor. Our first one, which was awarded July 1st, is actually really close to getting signatures. We checked, it was out for signatures as of this week. And so as soon as that is executed, we will have notice to proceed for that contractor to work on that first part of the package, which is downtown. Based on how long that took to get to notice to proceed and actually get signatures, I anticipate this package 2 to take by the end of this year and early part of next year to start construction activities between that Pool Road to Wake Med section or 440 section. And then we have been meeting one-on-one with individual contractors that are more interested in that vertical station build because that's the last package of activities that will be advertised. We do anticipate that to be advertised either by the end of this year or the first thing in early part of 2026, just to continue that momentum of construction activities. We're trying to balance that timeline, especially because the vertical construction isn't as time sensitive in terms of how long that's going to take, and they actually really need to wait for some of that horizontal work to finish before they can start doing that work. So there's really no advantage of getting them on board sooner and getting them going, because then they're going to be waiting for the contractors to finish some work before they can do their piece. So, but as we continue advancing in that process, we'll certainly bring some additional updates back to you guys. I think the overall public engagement on a bus rapid transit front, as you mentioned, has been happening. We do have some upcoming events in November for the Southern Corridor, and I think a postcard is nearly ready. I think it was supposed to go out for mailings this Friday, so we'll get a digital copy of that in the RTA newsletter that y'all receive.
Thank you for the update. It's good to hear that we are almost to shovels in the ground on bid 1. Can you just remind us who was awarded the packages, what the firms are?
Yes. So package 1, July 1st, was Reifenberg contractor, and package 2 was awarded to Fred Smith Company. Package 2, I forgot to share the details, but was $68 million in engineer's estimate, and the apparent low bid for Fred Smith for package 2 was $64 million, and so that was 5% under the engineer's estimate. And then the second bid that we received for package 2 was Reifenberg, who won that first package, and they were 5% over the engineer's estimate at about $71 million.
Thank you.
Right,
It's good to know those things for at least a few minutes before we all forget them again. Thank you for the update. Does anyone else have questions on New Bern?
Just to confirm, so package 1 and package 2, can they start at the same time, or is there going to be like an overlap of construction?
There will be overlap of construction activities for those packages. Package 1 can start as soon as this signature process is completed this month, and so they'll be starting activities this fall. Package 2 will now go into that contract routing process where we try to get the contract executed. It typically takes 60 to 90 days to do that, and so that's where I anticipate maybe by the end of this year, package 2 will have the similar executed contract and we'll be able to begin work.
Okay. Yep. Is there a contract for the New Hope?
Park and ride?
Yes, park.
So that is...
Okay, never mind. I'm always ahead of David somehow. Okay. The second question is, for the Southern Corridor, are there going to be community meetings with further into the corridor? Because I see some now that's at, like, I think was at Pine Level and Iliagas up there, and then downtown. I guess I want to have people have feedback that lives outside the Beltline.
We do not have any.
Like
We do not have
Garner
any
input.
plans outside of the Beltline, but we are working with the town of Garner to identify if they'd like to do one within their specific location. But
Okay.
for the events in November, those are the two that are currently identified. They're both on the corridor. One is northern part of the corridor, close to downtown, and then the other one is closer to Renaissance Park, to the southern part of the corridor. But eventually, again, as we continue to advance to different milestones of design and as we get engaged with Town of Garner and what they want to see from a citizen engagement perspective for their constituents, we would certainly do more engagement
Okay.
in that.
That'd be great. I mean, considering they'll benefit as well, it'd be great to hear their. Thank you.
Maybe more of a comment, but I'm curious if we could get into, for another time, but, have you guys started to think about the construction disruptions to existing service and the communications around, you're going to I imagine some of those bus stops are going to get torn up and the new sidewalk work and all that stuff. So it's just something to keep in mind. Maybe, I don't know, just throwing it out there that, if we can help with something like marketing or whatever to get the word out about your plan to address construction,
Yeah.
disruptions.
Certainly. So the contractors are responsible for communicating that, and so we will start to work ahead. Especially, we typically like to tag stops in advance whenever there is going to be relocations or a temporary stop and other things that are going to happen. So we'll, once we have a clearer picture of where they're going to start their construction activities and what those impacts are, we can share that.
Yeah, okay, cool.
Any other
Adding
questions?
to,
Go ahead, Mark.
hello? Adding to that, I think it's going to be important to have conversations with the dispatch so that it's communicated to the consumers that ride the fixed route, that they're notified of the delays. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions about BRT? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Now, other capital projects.
All righty. We have talked about some of these projects off and on over the last year to a couple of years probably, and we thought this would be a good time to just come to you and talk about all three of them at one time and to show you some nice schematics that we've got and kind of just give you an update on where each project is. So we will be talking about the East Raleigh Park and Ride at New Bern and New Hope. We'll be talking about the Pool Road facility, the current fixed route operations and maintenance site, expansion work, and then the new Go Raleigh Access and Go Wake Access shared facility. So next slide, we'll start with the East Raleigh Park and Ride. The city purchased about 2.5 acres a couple of years back at the corner of New Hope and New Bern. The project will have about 100 parking spaces. You can see from the photo on the upper left the tie-in to where the New Bern BRT station will be. So there'll be easy connectivity between this park and ride and the New Bern end-of-line platform there. The park and ride will have about 12 electric vehicle charging stations. We'll have the infrastructure in the ground to add another 12 when needed. So up to 24. It's being designed or was designed with GSI water collection devices. That's green stormwater infrastructure. So you'll see on this design, there's no great big huge retaining pond. The park and ride lot, the spaces themselves will be using permeable asphalt or pavers. The islands that you typically see in a parking lot will be green infrastructure to where the water can just run off into that. And so their overall concept is the water naturally is being absorbed into the ground more so than your typical application of stormwater where it all gets piped into the stormwater drains and piped to a great big huge retaining pond. So we went the extra yard on that, worked closely with our City of Raleigh Stormwater Department and Division, and they were appreciative of that. They've actually got a crew that goes around and cleans those GSI detention areas to make sure that they continue to function properly. So that'll be an added benefit for us. In the lower right picture, there's another, you can still see the park and ride lot there drawn in, and the big blue arrow points to another section of the property that was purchased. That building today is being used as our warehouse for all of our bus shelters and benches. That's about a 6,500 square foot facility, give or take. And it's pretty much full to the rim on any given day as we continue to build out our bus shelters throughout the city. So just wanted to highlight that. That will be a future transit center. We anticipate that transit center will come to fruition somewhere around 2030, 2032 timeframe. Once the BRT project is complete and we get the park and ride up and open, and we have a couple of more routes in East Raleigh that are coming on into service later in our current FY30 bus operating plan. So We've got the space for it. We're currently utilizing that building, so there's no big rush to get that built right now because we need to continue using that warehouse space. But did want to point that out. Next slide. This project is at 100% design. All of our permits are in place. We anticipate a bid being released for construction within the next 30 days, maybe 60, but it may even be less than 30 days. We're pretty much ready, just dotting some final I's and crossing some T's in the bid package. We would anticipate that construction award for the project will be made by City Council in January. And once the award is done and the contractor is under contract, the timeline for build is about 1 year. So this should be open sometime in early calendar year 27 to mid 27. All right, next up is the Go Raleigh Fixed Route Operations and Maintenance Facility expansion projects. A little bit hard to see on this satellite view, but there's a couple of red squares. The large building on the on the bottom of this image is the current maintenance shop. That large red box is where we will be adding 3 additional bays, and we'll talk a little bit more about those in a little bit on a later slide. The smaller red box at the top of that garage area is we're going to build some additional administrative office space. We built this facility, opened it up in 2011, and it is already at capacity. And it's a 40-year building, so it's we've had a lot of growth within our Go Raleigh system, and even the growth that we thought we might have back then, we have greatly surpassed that. So need to get busy with some work on this. There'll be approximately 10,000 square feet of new administrative space. Our city finance team will be transitioning from the current space they hold in the current administrative building. They'll move over to this new area. Our Title VI civil rights staff will also be over there. And then we're also going to go ahead and program some additional space for just more future growth that we know we're ultimately going to need. When the current finance team moves out of the space that they're occupying now, that will open up additional space for RATP Dev as they need it in that current building that they have. Let's see, I talked about, I think that's all on that one. Next slide. So this is a overhead view of the 3 maintenance bays. They are being built specifically for our articulated bus fleet. I think as everyone knows, we have 7 articulated buses. We're in the process of getting those rebranded to go ahead and put into service on our #1 capital route. We're bringing that up to 10-minute frequencies effective next week. So we're really excited about that and excited to be able to get those buses into service. We get asked occasionally, why do we get those buses so early? There were lots of factors that went into that. The manufacturer told us it was going to be a 2-year build cycle. We had a timeline that didn't quite work out on the BRT New Bern project, and we had delays, and we had bids with where we received no bids, and just one thing after another. We actually received those buses in 12 months, so we got them a year earlier than what we were told we would. So it's not good to let a bus sitting around. We've already had them for a little over a year and a half, and so it's the best thing to do is get those things into service, and we've got the route that needs that extra capacity. So we're going to get those rolling next week on Capitol Boulevard. We will be buying 7 additional buses for New Bern Avenue when the time is right. Since we now have a couple of contracts awarded and we're working to get those under contract, we'll either utilize that current bid that we still have for the articulated buses, or we may go ahead and just put out a whole new bid and just take another look at what that might need to be. But ultimately we'll get 7 buses for New Bern, 7 buses for Southern, and then another 10, at a minimum, another 10 for the Western Corridor. This 3-bay expansion will be plenty to handle that fleet of articulated buses. This is a schematic of what the additional office space will look like. If you're familiar with the current operations and maintenance facility, when you go in the front door on the back side of that building, there's a courtyard, which you can see in that lower left corner. That's where the new administrative office building will be built. Again, it'll be 3 stories, built between that existing facility and that large retaining wall. In that back corner, you can see a stair tower for folks that want to just take the shortcut and take the stairs to get up to the maintenance facility or the operations area. Go ahead and go to the next slide, Andrea. This is a view from the top side at the top of that big retaining wall, and you can see where that existing stair tower is. So that tower will come down and be moved back to the east side of the new building. We'll provide some covered walk space from the existing facility administrative offices up to the driveway that you see there to provide a little bit more cover for the maintenance folks walking back and forth between the maintenance garage and the administrative building. Let's see, this project is nearing 100% design. It's probably in the mid to upper 90s, so it's really, really close. We anticipate a bid release for construction on this one early in calendar year 26, with a early, if that timeline holds and we release it in early in 26, we could be under construction mid-year in 26. And this is also a 1-year timeline. Both of these projects can be worked on simultaneously, which will help speed up the timeline for construction. So potentially we could be moving into this new facility sometime late in calendar year 27. And then next up is the Go Raleigh Access and Go Wake Access shared operations and maintenance facility. That facility or that operation currently is operating out of the old fixed route site over on South Blunt Street that was built back in the 70s. It is well beyond its useful life. It sits on top of a early 1900s era landfill, and there are some serious cracks in walls on the northern side of the building where the ground is starting to sink a little bit. So it's we really need to get this new facility going, and we're in the process of doing that now. So at the beginning of the design process, which we started about 4 months ago, looking back towards there, 4 or 5 months ago, we've developed some goals for the project, and you see those on the slide here. The top indicates the goals that kind of rose to the top through the stakeholder team. We want to make sure we've got a durable, resilient, and sustainable facility. We want to make sure it's barrier-free and welcoming and a safe space, considering it's an ADA facility and that we're going to have a lot of ADA clients coming and going through this facility. We want to make sure it is very welcoming. We want to be able to use it to strengthen partnerships and build trust throughout our ADA community and create a model paratransit facility. So we're doing everything we can to make this site one that people around the country look to and say, we want to do something like Raleigh's got. So the next slide kind of shows the layout of where the buildings are going to be. The property is almost not directly across the street from the fixed route facility, but it's just kind of catty corner. It's on the corner of Pool Road and New Hope Road. It's about 17 acres. And as you can see from this schematic drawing, the building on the kind of the south side that's running left and right, that's the maintenance facility. The building just to the right of that is the operations and call center for the City of Raleigh and Wake County. And then we're going to build a new warehouse to store our fixed route bus shelters and amenities on this site, since we had plenty of room. Just want to say that this building does have funding from the Wake Transit Plan primarily. We got just under a $10 million RAISE grant that our team applied for and was awarded a couple of years ago. And so between the Wake Transit and FTA grant money and a few additional FTA grant dollars that we're pulling together, we're confident we've already got this project fully funded. It is being, project management is being provided by the City of Raleigh's Engineering Services Department. And I think that's all I've got on this slide. Next slide. Again, this is just another kind of overhead view of that other image that you just saw. We are going to be able to maintain a lot of the green space on the north side and west side of the property. There is a large stormwater pond there that you see. We'll have similar EV charging at this facility as we have at that park and ride that we were just talking about. We'll have EV in both the employee parking and for the ADA vans, plus additional infrastructure for future growth on both of those parking lots. Next slide. Don't want to go into a whole lot of the details on the footprint of this is the administration offices. Kind of the yellow colored, the right side is your city and county office spaces. Both again, the Go Raleigh Access and Go Wake Access call centers will be housed here. And then the supervisory staff for both of those teams will also be housed at this facility. And then on the left side is your operations for the contractor that's providing the Go Raleigh and Go Wake Access services. One thing I do want to point out is, I don't know if you can read the text there, but at kind of in the center on the bottom, there's a public entry point with a big arrow. You walk in that vestibule, there's a large lobby, and then immediately behind that is a pretty large multi-purpose room. And we're going to dress that up really nice and mark that could be a future location for the new Raleigh Commission for Persons with Disabilities if they chose to use an alternate site to what you have today. This would be much bigger and roomier for those meetings. And so we are kind of making sure that everything we're doing here is going to fit in well for our ADA community, to include a covered drop-off area at the front door, because we know that this facility will also host our eligibility testing team. So, every day we have about 4 or 5 new prospective ADA clients currently going over to the Pool Road facility. They get dropped off in front of the building. They have to be, assisted in most of the time, and they're out in the elements. So we're going to make sure that this facility has a covered space for those drop-offs and pickups. And if we do happen to host some of those additional meetings, you'll have that same service with a covered drop-off zone right there at the front door. So just wanted to highlight that. The next slide shows the maintenance garage. I think currently they're operating with 4 maintenance bays. This one is going to be built out to make sure we've got plenty of room for growth in the future. Initially, we're looking at having up to 8 bays, which would allow us to almost double the amount of service that we have right now. Let's see, what do we got here? All right, so we're in the early stages. We're finishing up the schematic design. We feel like the timeline for the design will finish up sometime mid to late calendar year 26, and then there will be about a 3-year construction timeline. That's initially what the design team is projecting. So the initial opening date for this would be sometime in calendar year 2029. And I think that is it. We're just presented that as information. I'll be glad to take any questions if you have any.
Real quick, the New Bern Park and Ride, I'm not seeing, where is it exactly?
It's on the corner of New Bern and New Hope. Do you know where the CVS drugstore is?
Yep.
It's literally right on the corner, and this property is immediately behind that.
It'll be behind it. Oh, okay.
Yeah, the DMV.
Oh,
Yeah.
I see.
There's a large parking lot in front of the DMV in Hammocks, and then there's a couple of there's 2 buildings there
Building behind the
today,
gas station?
and a big open space that goes out
got
to
it.
New
Yeah.
Hope. And
All right.
That's it.
Okay, cool.
Yes, I have a couple of questions. Let's see. As far as the park and ride, is there going to be a fee for that? For parking?
No
Oh,
fee.
okay. I'm sorry. I didn't see you. And also, so the call center is moving. I'm very excited about this news with the new facility to house the committee with RapDev upstairs and Sean Abrams. That's a very good call. Very excited.
And I will say there is no upstairs. We had a lot of conversation in the early
Very good.
design schematic workshops, and there were some designs put out there that had 2 stories, and Mr. Abrams was very adamant about this needs to be a 1-story facility. We're working with, clients that are, have disabilities, and if we're not going to have an elevator, we don't need to have a 2nd floor. So we worked it out to where it's all on 1 floor.
The community is going to be very excited, I'm sure. Also, with the dispatch being part of, will we get reimbursement fees from RapDev for the use of the service, of the facility itself?
Well, the current contract is structured so that they're not paying any kind of rent today. They're using our facility. We pay the utility bills, the water bills already. So this, we'll just be able to maintain that same contract that we have. They'll just move in and have a new space.
You know me, I'm always trying to find money. I will highlight, I had concerns with the purchase of the extended, but I would imagine that in a year and a half, they have significantly increased. So in essence, the city saved money by purchasing earlier. If you buy them
The Bindi
today
buses, you
versus
mean?
a year and a half ago, I'm sure the extended buses are less expensive now. I mean, more expensive now.
Very likely.
Yes, thank you.
Did anyone have other questions? I just had a question about I think in the very early days when we talked about the access property being as large as it is compared to some of the other properties, there was some discussion about whether the city or the county would co-locate other services on that site as well. Has anything happened with that conversation?
No, we've pretty much filled it up. What you saw is using not all of the usable space, but that western edge and northern edge, there's some blue water streams and riparian buffers that we have to maintain. We could stretch and expand, and add a little bit of additional van parking in the current setup that we have, but not a tremendous amount. So the potential extra space that we might have been able to sublet potentially, we're building the warehouse.
Got you. Okay. Because we'll be losing the one from the other entrance. Okay. And then I think with both that project and the Pool Road expansion project, I think just a note to our teams, because they're sort of project managing the consultants of the contractors, of like, we want to maintain a good working relationship with RITP Dev through these transitions. And so I think upfront communication with everyone, like from maintenance to operators to managers there. Just want to say that that's what we expect as a board and anticipate that staff will provide. But I think it's important to say out loud that this could potentially be disruptive to a lot of the employees over the next several years. And then we want to be sensitive to that and make sure that everyone can get into work and get back out to work without listening to jackhammers all day.
No, absolutely. We certainly understand that. Part of the expansion project there at the current fixed route facility did require an operations plan to make sure continuation of service can occur. We do have RATP Dev staff. They've got a facilities manager. He's been participating and their director of maintenance has also been participating in the design process. From day one. So they are actively engaged and aware of what's going on. And again, as we do get into construction next year on that project, we'll have weekly, if not daily, communications with them as to, what's coming up next and what to be aware of.
Thanks. Anything else? Okay. It's always good to see where all that good Wake Transit Plan money is going to shiny new facilities. I think, well, we're after 4 o'clock now, so we have public comments. How many do we have? 2 public comments. And I'm going to attempt to read people's names. If I mess it up, I apologize in advance. The first person who signed up is Davina Mangum, if you want to come on up. I think we have 3 minutes generally for public comment, so if we can try to stick to that today.
Hello.
Hi.
I just want, for when I start, I want to let you know I am not a disgruntled ex-employee. I worked there for a long time, and I love my job. I did. I loved it. But y'all picked some of the worst people to run it. The worst. That place is unsafe. They pay somebody for safety, and it ain't got no better. Now, the city of Raleigh failed my son one time when he watched his friend die at Southeast High School. Now, he rides the bus faithfully. If he watches another person leave this world, I don't know what my son is going to be. And nobody at Go Raleigh cares. Now, nobody comes to any of y'all jobs or to Go Raleigh facility and pull out their private parts, and you say, oh, that's normal. I saw that a few minutes ago. I might get banned from the station now, but hey, it is what it is. It is. It's normal. The lady went up to the driver, was like, he got his private parts out. She said, oh, he's just going over there to the trash can to pee. What? But you sit in the office with your doors locked, and none of these people can come to your office, none of them, and walk up to you and call you a bitch. It's like routine. When you start that job, you be like, have you been called a bitch yet? It's routine. I've had 2 anxiety attacks on those buses over the years, but I kept coming back. I love my job, and I love the people I work with. Not the people I work for. I promise you, I don't care anything about those people. Because if they go out in the parking lot, they're going to be safe because they leave at 5 o'clock. They don't leave at midnight. And those crazy people that's downtown, they can come right out there to that parking lot and do something. Build a parking deck. Build a parking deck for your drivers. Use those millions of dollars to pay them for what they go through. I ain't gonna say I didn't make it, because I did what I was supposed to do when I was there. And I did it well. But my time was done. And I will not come back here. But I'm wondering, do y'all have a funeral fund? Do you have a funeral fund? Do you have a fund for people's children when they don't make it home from riding this bus because one of these mental health people done attack them and they don't make it home?
Ms. Mangum, thank you for sharing today. Appreciate your time. And I just want to say personally that we do take safety very seriously on this board, and we do ask staff and of Raleigh and of RITP Dev to do the same. It's not perfect. I ride the bus as well. I've seen many of the same things you're describing. But we are up here to try to do our best and to respond to prevent the worst from happening. So, but thank you for your time today. The next public comment is from Chip Thrasher from the BPAC.
Good afternoon, commissioners and staff. I just have 2 things. The first being the slideshows on the bus. I did notice some very outdated stuff, like naming the CARES program, a couple of job fairs from earlier in the year. So just wanted to put that data point there, maybe to staff or whoever. The other thing is the transit app. A big part of it is to you can give feedback on your usage of it as a rider, and it says something about reporting this to the city. I was wondering if staff or any of you have any input on, do you have access to this data that is collected by the transit app from riders?
Thank you. Did you have other stuff you wanted to add, or we can start answering your questions?
Go right ahead.
Okay. I think as far as the slideshows, I don't know if staff has an answer on how often they're updated, but we can certainly send that to marketing committee for discussion. Does that work? Does that work, Leo? And I think I just heard from staff, because I was asking about this earlier, that like we had a pilot program back when you could actually like buy advertisements on that. So we could also send that to marketing for just as part of that discussion, like what is the slideshows for? Okay. And then as far as the transit app, we did talk about this at a committee meeting. Mr. Walker, do you know if we have the data from them?
We do receive data, and I think that the bus facilities team is working to put together some form of a dashboard that we can add to the monthly reports. I don't think we've quite got that ready yet, but we are receiving that data monthly.
Okay. Do we have any idea like how, like, it asks like 10 questions of every rider, I've noticed. So like, do we have any idea like how much information or like percent of ridership at this point?
No, I don't have that.
Okay.
I know we have brought to the board some information that we received. They used to send us just an email with a real small dashboard.
Yeah.
And we've actually procured a little bit of additional information from them. And so we're again, like I said, working towards getting a larger thing that we can put together and bring and just create it and make part of the monthly reports. But I can tell you there's a lot of really good information in what they provide.
For sure. Mr. Teague?
Currently, do we know how many results we're getting on a monthly basis?
It has been a couple of months, if not more, since I've actually looked at that data, but I do recall early on that I think we were getting close to 10 or 11,000 responses monthly, which is extraordinary because when we go out and we do a huge effort to do an on-board type survey, we may do 2,000 surveys. So we're getting through the transit app from our actual riders as they're taking their trips, a lot of responses and a lot of information. And I think I may have brought this up at some point when we were having conversations about on-time performance. And again, I haven't seen data recently, but I do know that we were regularly getting rated with 4.6 to 4.7 or higher stars out of 5 through those 10, 11,000 reports monthly.
You didn't know I like data, so I'd like to see it. Thank you.
Yeah, to jump on that, like I wonder if it's possible to, the data exists and you say you have to go look at it, but I wonder if there's not some feature or something the city can build to like feed you guys a monthly report or a quarterly report or something, and maybe even massage it into something that can be attached to like to our agendas, and then just then show trends over time and things like that. It doesn't have to be a data science project, but stuff like that.
This is why we have a programmer on the market.
It could replace the survey, the yearly survey that I remember. That I know I like that survey, and maybe every 5 years you do that in-depth survey that gets more qualitative data from actual writers, but the survey like that kind of keeps more of a pulse on some things.
I can't make any promises that will get you something at the next meeting, but we should be able to get something. This is what, October? So I'll commit to having something from that transit app by December at the latest, if not by November.
I just wanted to ask Chip. I know you sat back down. Sorry. Was there something in particular that you were interested in the questions that they ask, or were you just curious what we were doing with it?
I consider it to be a good data source, and I wanted to make sure you have access to it.
Okay, gotcha. Well, thank you very much, and appreciate the back and forth with BPAC.
Thanks.
Do you have it?
We have the data, but we have not went through it, but we can provide it to the
Did
next
they just like
board.
dump an Excel spreadsheet?
It is. It's a lot of data, but we are keeping track of that, so we can provide that at the next route meeting, just let you know.
Okay. Looking forward to digging into it. And then just a reminder to everyone on the board and everyone in the public that there's a bunch of data already in our performance metrics that are either in this board meeting, or if you don't see it there, in the route committee notes from earlier last week. Every single month. More data than most of folks would like to know about the bus is in there. So
I think this is more for a writer's experience, so I think that
I
would be
think
good
it'll
to
be
see.
good. Yeah.
And on that rider experience note, I'll add that we just also had on consent agenda at City Council this past Tuesday, I can't remember if it's a new contract or an amendment, but our Clever Devices is the CAD AVL provider. We have to pay an annual fee for them to host and maintain and service that software behind the scenes for us. We're actually adding a nodule that's called disruption management that will allow our dispatchers, anytime we have a detour, like if it's just a quick spur of the moment and it's going to be on for only 4 or 5 hours, we previously had no way to react and get that information out to our customers. But with this new disruption management nodule, we'll be able to enter some data into the system for Clever Devices. The transit app should be able to pick that up and have that as a kind of a banner at the top of the app when you open it up. And if you say, I'm riding Route 3, it's going to recognize that and say, oh, this bus is on detour, this is where it's going to turn, and show all the lefts and rights. So we're continuing to do more and improve our technological advances and that customer, what'd you call it, customer what?
Experience.
Experience.
Yes, I'm all about customer service. Question, does that require input from you, or is that action on RapDev? Does it have to go through multiple layers, or can they actually send that?
I think I believe dispatch can do it themselves.
Okay.
You know, if we're getting notices like a day in advance, because we do, if the city knows that there's a plan,
Right.
working on the water lines or something, then Dana's team can actually go in there and do that themselves. In addition to those, the dispatchers would probably do those immediate day of that we didn't know was going to happen. A water line broke, and so it's an emergency closure right now. So our Dana's team would be doing we know about it, it's coming tomorrow or the next day. They could already go ahead and get that pre-programmed, and then the dispatch would handle those immediate emergency type actions.
Okay, good.
I'm very excited. We bring things forward and you address it, but tap and pay.
Yep. I'll say we're working on it. We've got our current mobile ticketing provider contract expires about this time next year, so we're going to have to do a new procurement for that service. And our teams are having conversations right now on what all we want to put into that. We know we've got BRT coming. If we're doing this procurement now, then BRT, will be in just a year and a half, 2 years out from that. Do we want to try to do a combination to where we've got a mobile ticketing provider that can also handle the ticket vending machines that'll be on those BRT platforms? Is there going to be a way to integrate our mobile technology so that it works on a bike share or a scooter program? So we are having that conversation. Obviously, paid at tap and pay or open payment will certainly be part of that procurement. So it's coming, but it's not going to be real fast.
Thank you.
Can we put that on the finance and policy agenda for next month or the following month? Just for an update on how that.
Sure. It may just have to go into pending. I don't think we'll have a whole lot to talk about, in the next couple of months, but we're continuing to strategize on what that procurement looks like. We're going to have some conversations with vendors to see exactly what is possible. But we can certainly put it on the agenda and just kind of.
Yeah, I think whenever appropriate, once you have that information, but once we know what's possible, I think it'd be helpful to have the discussion in finance and policy.
I think that's a great idea. One question I want to clarify is if the contract that we currently have is coming up at the end of next year or middle of the last quarter of next year, are you saying that it's definitely going to be negotiated with the next contract, or are we still trying to get something done now or within the next year?
We're probably going to focus on that new RFP. We are talking when we can get them to return our calls with our current fare box provider, because they do have the capability of open payments, and I believe we've got all of the hardware that we need. We just don't have the software, but unfortunately it's challenging to get a hold of this company. You would think that they're in business, they want to make sales, but we struggle to be able to get return calls from them. But we will continue to have those reaching out to them and seeing if we can make attempts to do that.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
Okay, we got into a couple of sidetracks, but I think we put them into committee appropriately. So the next thing that we would talk about is actually committee reports. So we'll start with route.
All righty. I don't know if we have a presentation on it or display of it, but the topic is Glenwood Pleasant Valley Design. Currently, that station, if you're familiar with the Pleasant Valley where the Burger King is, inside that area, there's a bus stop. That will be moving in the future onto Glenwood Avenue. That way, all that detour and traffic, so there will be future bus stops. I think Sarah did the design on that, worked on that, and DOT actually approved that. So within that turning lane, the route would be there. I did have a question with the team to make sure with the timing, since more than one route will be coming there, that since we know Glenwood Avenue is kind of busy, making sure that we don't have congestion along there, just to avoid accidents. Glenwood's get kind of busy, so that'll be looked at existing time, making sure one bus goes in, one goes out, or not overlapping or anything like that. The next one was on-time performance reports. We talked about, Taylor presented this as well. Keep calling you out, Taylor, but good job. We talked about looking at the performance report, looking at how they've been doing. There's some routes that haven't been meeting the 85%, and we're going to look at those. There was about, I think, 5 or 6 that was like at 65%, which is not hitting the target, and we just want to figure out why they're not making the target, and it could be a couple of things. But we're still going to have conversations about that, and we suggested to pull the reports quarterly versus monthly, because monthly could be overwhelming. But if we look at it on a quarterly basis for those particular routes that are not meeting that, we can kind of see like what's happening. Could be construction, could be weather, or some other factors. But we are going to look at that. The next topic is going to be pushed back, where it says time change of route committee. Yes, so we're going to put a pin on that one and discuss that next time. So I do want to just bring up one thing that that I did see, that Go Carry starting this fall. Route 2 is coming, will be going from, it's a new route, not to talk about Go Carry, but it does impact us a little bit. They'll be starting from downtown all the way up to Trinity Road and downtown, a little part of downtown. So it'll be passing Harrison Avenue, North Maynard, Chapel Hill Road, Corporation Center Drive, Trinity Road, which connects to the Lenovo Center, Carter Finley and Drive Shack, which will connect to the 27L. So that's why I brought that up. So we just got to keep looking at the changes other areas are doing and making a connection for us. So I just want to bring that up. So we are not us, but looking at what other cities are doing and making sure our routes meet so people can continue on with that route. So that new route coming along will help people that's going to Lenovo as we're having those same conversations in the future. So, any questions?
I think that's great. Thank you guys for your attention to detail on all those stops and routes. Other questions? Okay, the next would be finance and policy. Our chair was on vacation last week, and so Christian Daniels filled in. Do you want to give us a report out?
Yeah, very minimal to report. It is no longer called the scooter policy. It's actually going to be called the mobility device policy. It's no longer called the scooter policy. We're going to refer to it as the mobility device policy. We made some recommendations for verbiage change, and right now it is pending those changes, but we did ask that we proceeded with said verbiage changes.
Yeah, so I think we found a path to which we can allow some open strollers on the bus, and we're just working on the details of that policy, right?
Correct. Yeah, we're going to be looking at the width allowance.
Did you guys finalize the scooter policy, or was that all? Because I know that was a question with one of our riders about that.
Yeah, so the stroller is just one of the items in the whole mobility device list. I think finance and policy had approved everything else, and we just sent the stroller policy back for the discussion. So I think by next month's meeting, it's likely it will get reported out. Because we had a really good discussion about what was going on in committee, and I really appreciate staff's time and doing the extra research on what other folks are doing around open strollers in Durham and other places. But I think we have pretty solid direction. It was just not quite final language to be able to move it out of committee this month.
Okay.
Thank you, finance and policy. And then marketing, y'all didn't meet this month? Okay. We'll move on to general manager's report then. Ms. Dupree. Good afternoon.
Hello. Okay. Operator headcount from August, we are still hovering around the 252 number. With the upcoming service change effective on Sunday, we will need 263 operators. We again are at 252. We have 20 in various phases of the training to date. We continue to have training classes weekly until we can reach our full head count. That strategy has been working for us. Missed trips in August, that number was lower. It was 57, that was the number. No, that can't be right. Yeah, that's right. 57, and it's continuing to decrease. We had an even better month in September. We ended the month with 26 missed trips. So we are continuing to look at different ways to just work with the operators, look at the run bids and making sure that we're staffed. Vehicles and fleet availability also plays a big part in making sure that we don't miss any of the trips. On-time performance, I heard you say that you guys are working on it in the route committee meetings, or at least having those discussions. We're continuing to discuss the same thing in addition to operators and how they impact the on-time performance of various routes, just looking at the routes in general. I think it's going to be something that's ongoing as long as we continue to have different service changes and as long as there's different construction in different areas. That's just going to always be an area of focus. So something that we need to stay on top of. PM completion, we had some issues with PMs during that month in time. We hired an outside vendor to help us with those PM completions, and we also are actively recruiting for the mechanic position. We're offering some incentives in terms of sign-on bonuses and made some adjustments to the starting and top wages for the B and C mechanic positions. Any questions for me? Quiet.
Yes, I have a couple of questions. This is concerning the survey that was presented to the Raleigh Commission for Persons with Disability. One question would be to dispatch, the other to staff. I did notice in the report there was a concern with the change of trips as far as the ease of or the difficulty of changing a trip. So I wanted to discuss, how this is being addressed. And additionally to the staff, there was mention of the difficulty with the application process. So I just wanted to hear what your thoughts are on how we can improve those 2 points in that report.
I'd just ask that you allow us time to take those 2 questions and put together a report, and we can either bring that back to a committee if you want to push it to one of the committees, or we could bring it back to the full board, whatever you please.
Madam Chair?
I was just route or finance and policy, which makes sense. Finance and policy, I guess. I don't care. Which one makes the most sense?
Since Mark's in finance, why don't we go there?
Okay.
All right, thank you. Also, when I'm looking at the expenditures for the Go Raleigh Access Program, if you go to that slide, I can't see, so I don't know if you have it up, but the one labeled Taxi and Go Raleigh Access Van Expenditures. I'm very concerned and alarmed at the increased cost of the van service. The vans are currently running at $76 a trip. Also on that report, you put the average cost of taxis, but the vans are not included with the average cost. In 2 years since I've been on this board, the cost has risen from $55 to $76. I was told when I brought up this concern 2 years ago, it was due to once we put more people on the van, the cost would decline. It has not. It has continued to escalate, even though we have added almost 3 times the riders. So I'm very concerned. The trips provided currently by the vans are less than 10%, but the overall cost now is 20%. So I had conversation at Finance and Policy, and there's been a couple of requests made where I would like to understand when trips are returned by the taxi vendors, what percentage are fulfilled by the vans versus the taxi vendors. Realizing that this is an outside vendor, I want to make sure that we're maximizing the taxpayers' cost properly. So I'm very concerned. I've raised these questions for 2 years. I know everybody's tired of hearing me discuss this, but I just do not understand why there has been a dramatic increase of van service when it's 3 times more expensive. Point in fact, if the vans service had been delivered by taxi vendors, it would have saved $135,000 for the month of August. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. I think we've learned to keep our eye on cost per trip and some of these metrics. They are really critical things we were supposed to look at. So I think there was just a couple of ways in which the data could be shown differently in the performance metrics as we go forward. And then I think it may make sense to have someone from the Go Access side of the team come to a finance and policy meeting in the next couple months just to talk through what that is. I think there's just some gaps in our knowledge of how things work, to Mr. Teague's point about what, how do things get distributed between vans and when, and how what's the percentage of trips, and those questions he's asking, it would be helpful to walk through those.
Yeah, most of the, so if a trip is, if the taxi is not able to perform an already scheduled trip, and you have a passenger that is somewhere waiting for a vehicle to be transported, then our goal is to figure out the best way to get that person to where it is that they're trying to get to in the most efficient manner, right? And so if we have a vehicle that's already out on the road, sometimes it is easier for us to reschedule or to add that additional trip to that vehicle. But it varies. I mean, there's not, a lot of things are considered when determining what to do if someone is left by their original or first mode of transportation.
I will talk. 2 weeks ago, I was here at a meeting. I went downstairs. I called dispatch at 3:45, requested I had to move my trip because it was scheduled for 5:15. No one, it still took an hour and a half to be picked up. So through conversations in the past, it was used and referred to as, a backup, as an emergency. But I'm not really concerned about myself. I'm concerned by my community. And I can imagine a senior citizen woman playing bowling and leaving the facility, and in an hour and a half, she cannot get delivery by either service. So I don't understand why the van was not available. We have 18 vans available. So in situations like that, I thought it was a backup. So it really concerns me, for the amount of time. An hour and a half during 3:45 in the afternoon is very concerning. Thank you.
Let's take a look at it.
We'll have staff put together kind of a report and walk through some of these things at the next, I think it was discussed last week in Finance and Policy, and we'll bring it back to that since it started there and just continue that conversation. I do think we need to be careful about the board getting into operational things and how a service is provided on the street that's not policy. I understand your questions, and Sean and I have looked at the cost per trip for the vans, and we're probably, I can't remember the exact percentage, but Sean ran some numbers, and our vans are only operating about 45, maybe 50% of the time providing a trip. So that unproductive time while they're sitting out there waiting to be able to perform those rescue trips is unproductive, but it's being added into that next trip that provider that is provided. So if you back out that unproductive time, the van trip cost is down around $45 to $55 a trip, which is much more reasonable and much more in line with what Mark's talking about from 2 to 3 years ago. So we're looking at maybe making that unproductive time, sitting, waiting for the service overall to be looked at potentially as an overhead cost, and then just build it in and allocate it appropriately across the board to all trips taken. So we're going to look at some ways to more fairly look at what the cost of that service is, and we'll bring that back next month.
Yeah, I think the request from the board, our role is oversight to ask why and how things operate, and the ability to get a good answer is what we're looking for. So I think that presentation would be helpful, and to understand the differences between what we see for costs. We don't pay the taxi people when they're being unproductive, so that is part of that conversation. Mark, does that work to go to committee?
Yes, but I have to make a final point. It's like, I think, why not expand and enhance the taxi vendor service? The taxi vendor service will never increase until City Council approves a rate increase, which it had been 17 years. And the only other time it will increase is if we expand the service.
I believe City Council approved a taxi rate increase last March or May.
It was April, May of last year, but it had been 17 years since they had increased. So as you look at these graphs, we don't have it in this report, but it has been consistent around $25 and will stay that. However, the van cost continues to escalate. With taxi vendors, we don't have to pay for the vehicle, we don't have to pay for maintenance, we don't have to pay for liability. So I'm on a board with the American Council of the Blind nationwide and on a transportation board. And nationwide, everybody is concerned with the rising cost of paratransit.
Thank you, Mark. We really do appreciate your attention on it. I think the place for this discussion is committee because it is in the weeds and a bit detailed. And so we look forward to hearing from staff and then back from the committee on what your thoughts are, if there's any policy or adjustment that we need to hear about. Does that work? Okay.
I do request, however, that the cost be shown for the van service, just like it is for the taxi, per trip cost. It's not currently
report,
being shown
yeah.
in the report on board docs.
Okay. We had only, I think, partially made it through metrics. Was there anything else you wanted to present?
No.
Okay.
Any additional questions for me?
Does anyone
You're
have
doing a great job, though. Honestly, I just want to elevate. We need to always be progressive. We need to look forward. We don't need to look at this is the way things are done. And a lot of cities have used the van service, and they're finding it's very expensive. So that's why I keep gaslighting the same issue for 2 years.
If there's no other questions for our general manager, I'm going to let her return to her seat.
Thank you.
Thank you. That is almost the end of the agenda. The last thing is always, of course, concluding remarks. First is from authority members, then staff. Any concluding remarks today?
I have a few.
Go ahead.
So there's been a couple of mentions of our name change from Raleigh Transit Authority. It seems like every time I leave a meeting, there's a committee meeting that pops up with council. So I don't know, has anybody heard or if our name is changing? Was it finalized? Or I was said in one of the meetings that we were aware of the name change potentially. We was asked. No one came to me directly. I don't know. I'm sure I can't speak for anybody else, but I'm just,
The community engagement department at the meeting where they presented to city council said that we asked for our name to be changed, which was not true, which was told to the council members that were present at that committee meeting at that time. My understanding is that the special committee on boards and commissions from council has to report back out to the full council and that they have to make their decision. And I don't believe they did that at this week's meeting.
No, they didn't discuss it.
Mr. Patel, you can come up and tell us.
So they did discuss it, and I believe
okay.
they
I'm sorry.
discussed dismantling the special committee. They did not make any changes to the mixture of boards and commissions, but I don't recall if there was an actual motion on a name change. I think the last conversation was also the attorney's office was looking into that as well. So let us get back with our community engagement office, and we'll close the loop on what we should be referred to as.
Okay. And then I'll just say for your benefit that I think, and other board members speak up if I'm speaking out of turn, but I think our concern is not what we're called, but that the Raleigh Transit Authority, as it was enacted 50 years ago, does actually have some oversight authority. And as you've heard us explain to community engagement on multiple occasions, our board acts a bit differently than some of the other advisory boards, and that's the only recognition that we would like. They can call us whatever they like. We just want to make sure that we have the same capabilities to support y'all in your work.
Yep, understood.
Does that work, LaTanya?
that's fine. I just
you.
like to know.
And then
where
everyone on the board can talk to your city councilor about this as well.
Yeah. Just a comment. I know like there's changes coming up at the Go Raleigh station with the platform changes October 12th. I think that's the date. There was a comment by a customer, a passenger, a rider, about better signages with the platforms. I don't know if that can be looked into or make sure it's visible with these changes, or not now, but in the future, if we can make better signages of the platforms, because I think it's visible on one side and not the other side. So when we do make the changes, it's not easy to find out like where the bus is. So if we can look into signage. Yeah, I think I'm gonna stop there. Yeah, that's it.
Thank you. Were there any other comments from authority members? You took mine. Oh, no, it's fine. It was the name change. Go ahead.
Oh, just for marketing, just if we can do more emphasis about the 15 minutes increase in schedule, maybe put that on social media again, just repeat it to let people know that we have a 15-minute frequency going out there. But
And 10 minutes.
and 10 minutes, so yeah.
Brag more.
Yes,
is our
basically.
request for marketing.
Repeat the official announcement, but continue to do that so people will know. But that's it.
It takes them 6 times to see it to know it. Any comments from staff? Okay. Thank you all for your time this afternoon. It is 5 minutes before 5, and I will adjourn our meeting today.